He won't go there, and I'm with him if you do.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
We're doing this thing. We have our little
That's it. It goes for like 15 minutes, and then when it's up, we try to wrap it up within five-ish of that.
Okay, that sounds good.
Okay.
Perfect. Thanks, Austin.
Cool.
Come over here and smack me. It goes too long.
Fist
Give
and
it a
this.
hit.
So,
There you
alrighty.
go. All right, well, welcome back to Jeff and Jash. Once again, Jeff can't be with us. We're going to get him.
Sorry, Jeff.
We are going to get Jeff back on here one of these days.
That's actually a promise.
I
One of
promise
these days,
one of these
we will have
days,
Jeff on the show.
That gives us a lot of time frame for getting him on the show.
Yep.
Nathan, thanks for filling in again.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's fun.
And Madison, thanks for being here.
Yeah.
In your own house.
Yep.
Love that.
Love it.
Today we have a special guest.
Yeah.
This is Diann Guenter, or Gma, as everybody, as we all refer to her as. She is Madison's grandmother.
Yeah.
And my grandmother-in-law. Is that a term? Grandmother-in-law?
so.
Yeah, that works.
Okay.
It's good.
I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're,
Okay.
you're just my Gma now.
Yeah.
That's,
Yeah.
that's how it works.
Okay. Well, Grandma, we just have a few questions for you because we
Okay.
think you're funny and interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
And can I just say, I think it's cool that you drink Red Bull. I know a lot of people are like, oh, I don't drink Red Bull. My dad drinks it, which I'm always surprised by. And I appreciate that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Thank
Big
you.
time.
Also,
Yeah.
the fact that we called you 10 minutes ago
It's true.
and asked
Yeah.
if you could come.
That's a good point. We had a
That
cancellation
is
in our
a
schedule
good point.
today, and you showed right up. That's
Yeah.
fantastic.
Coming
Yeah.
in clutch.
Oh, I'm glad to fill in.
Yeah. Okay. So, first of all, we just kind of want to get to know you. We just want to know where you grew up and what it was like growing up. And maybe, like, if you're okay with stating your age.
I am. I'm 71 years old.
71
I-
years young.
Young.
Yeah.
Looking
Okay,
great.
There
we'll
you
do
go.
that. That works. I grew up in a farm in North Dakota. And at the time, it was 3 miles from our little town of Nitchie. And at the time, I thought it was the worst place in the world to be because all my friends were in town doing town things. And I had to be out on the farm.
You said 3 miles out.
Yeah,
Yeah,
just
okay.
3 miles out.
Yeah.
But the farm was amazing. We had a huge garden. We did grain crops. We had livestock. And I had to help my mom and dad with all of that. I have 2 younger sisters, and they also helped. But on the farm life, you learned the importance of how to treat animals and the quality of time. Now I look back and see that my friends had wasted so much time living in town because there was nothing to do. Where my schedule...
You're
and
busy all the time.
It is. I mean, we'd get up in the morning, and especially during harvest, because my mom would drive the grain truck and Dad and Grandpa would drive combines, so my grandmother would come out and help. So we'd start out with first doing laundry and hanging on the line, and then going out into the garden and picking the berries, and then coming back and taking care of the produce that we picked, and then we took lunch out to the people at around
Sure.
10 or 11, and that
Yeah.
was always sandwiches and coffee and bars. And then we'd fix a huge hot dinner, and if they could come in, they'd come in. If not, we'd pile it all in the back of the car and drive out to the fields and have like a picnic.
Here we go.
So, how long would it take your mom or grandmother to prep food, that amount of food? Was it?
Well, she would start probably about maybe around 10:30 in the morning, and the meals were big because the men were hungry. So we always had like mashed potatoes, and a roast would be put in the morning, and then there was fresh corn on the cob and fresh sliced tomatoes and garden lettuce.
So good.
And there was
It's like 12 o'clock right now.
We're all getting hungry.
it was huge, and it was always super hot, and we always had dessert. I grew up in a house. There was always cake for sure,
Wow.
and most likely there was always pie, and there was always homemade cookies frozen. So you had 3 choices.
Options.
So what's your favorite dessert then? As a connoisseur.
Banana cream pie.
Banana
Really?
cream pie.
I don't get that very often when I ask people that question.
Yeah.
Oh, it was my favorite.
Interesting.
Really?
Is it still your favorite?
It is, but now I also like homemade lemon
Like lemon meringue?
Okay.
meringue
That's
pie.
good.
Gotcha.
Yep.
So did all of the food that you guys cooked with like mostly come from your farm
It
itself?
did. We pretty much were self-sufficient. I can remember growing up, and in the fall, my folks would go into town and buy 100-pound sacks of flour and sugar. And then, the staples such as toilet paper and laundry soap. But the rest of the food was canned or processed. We butchered. We had huge butchering bees in the fall of the year where
A
three or
butchering bee? What is that?
There would be 4 or 5 families when
A
I was
spelling bee?
littler. They would come in the morning and they'd butcher like a beef, a steer that Dad had penned for 6 weeks to fatten up on grain, and then pork. So the men would come early in the morning set up the big fryers and the scalding barrels, and they'd
Wow.
shoot them
Yep.
and stab them so they bled them out.
Mm-hmm.
And then the pig they dipped in and then scraped it off, the hair off the hide, and then
Wow.
and the beef the same thing. And then we were set up so that they processed their own meat. They made their own sausage, and they also wrapped it all. And then it was divided and went into
life.
freezers. So it took all day.
Yeah.
It was good.
That seems like just what you're describing seems like a ton of work, but really fulfilling.
Yeah.
Like,
It was
Yeah.
a ton of work, and it was so self-gratifying because this was all from your hand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like if you think of like the self-sufficient American dream, it's like that's
was
kind of
it.
it.
That's
yeah.
kind of how we
Right?
live.
Yeah, it's like we know we got all of this. We do it ourselves. We
Right.
harvest our own food.
But the
we butcher
ironic
our own.
part was, when I was growing up, it didn't seem like that. It's like, I'm
Yeah.
a farm kid and I have
Yeah.
no fun and
I
no
just-
privileges,
all
and
we do is
everybody's
we
in
live on
town
the
at the
farm.
swimming
That's
pool.
true.
Yeah.
It'd be
Yeah.
hard to have that kind of perspective
Yeah.
It
as
was
a kid, you
as
know?
a
Yeah.
kid.
Okay, so Grandma, you work at Sacagawea Middle School
I
here in
do.
town. So I just wanted to know, what's the biggest difference you see between when you went to middle school and the kids now that go to middle school?
And just to clarify, what do you do there at the school?
I'm a noon lunch aide, so I
Okay.
just monitor the noon lunch
Gotcha.
hour. The difference I see is probably the biggest thing is in discipline, the lack of respect toward elders and the me entitlement.
Sure. Yeah.
It's huge.
Yeah.
Sure.
It's huge.
Yeah.
Interesting.
What do you think about cell phones? You see a lot of middle schoolers with cell phones. What is your thought on that? You didn't have cell
Well,
phones when you were a
no.
middle schooler.
And we did fine without them. But since they've had these school shootings, the cell phones at SAC, the kids are allowed to carry them in their pocket in case something happens, so they can get in touch with their parents, and they're
Yeah.
asked not to use them during the school
Sure.
and in classrooms.
Sure.
So, if they do what they're supposed to, they're fine,
Yeah.
like with anything.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a double-edged sword for
Yeah.
sure. But that's interesting too about the entitlement. I wonder if that has to do with something where with almost what you're describing is like most kids these days don't have to work. So
Yeah.
like most kids don't even really get a job until possibly college.
Yeah,
Usually
like
high
you,
school.
You get a few
Right.
in high school, I think, but those are the
Right.
ones where it's like they're not maybe in a bunch of clubs. Usually, it's like who has time during high school to get a job if you're in sports and clubs and
Right.
Yeah.
like limited hours anyway.
My summer job was hoeing sugar beets.
Hoeing.
Oh, the
Oh.
sugar beets. My
That'll-
dad grew up farming sugar beets.
Really?
Those-
And we'd hoe sugar beets. And, oh, my word. You
Yeah.
had to space them about 4 to 6 inches apart. And you had a special little hoe, and you would do quarter-mile rows. And I mean, it was half-mile or quarter-mile.
Oh, my
Up,
goodness.
down the field and back up and down and back up. And we'd usually get up early to get out to the field.
How
by-
early was early?
Well, we were in the field by 6 a.m. because it got hot.
Yeah.
And then we'd work till about 2. So during the sugar beet season, when we hoed the beets as they were growing, when we quit at 2 o'clock, then I would go to the swimming pool, and then my folks would come into town and get me.
Okay.
Nice.
So that part I liked.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I
get
didn't
off-
do that
get
until I
off
was,
early and go
a
from-
freshman in high school.
Yeah.
But that was a hard job.
Oh yeah.
I can't imagine.
But man, that's got to be so good. Like looking back, like learning how to work hard.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, it's like
Yeah.
I wish I had more discipline in high school to learn how to work hard.
Yeah.
Right?
Looking back, I was like, I was a stinking bum.
Well, and I feel like it's easy these days if you don't want to do something
Yeah.
to not do it.
Right.
But
It
if
is
you're,
easy.
if like I'm just thinking, you're saying you were completely self-sufficient, but you couldn't be unless you were doing the work.
Right.
Yeah,
You know,
we had
so it's
to.
like it's a
We had
necessity
to.
at that point. And I feel like a lot of farm kids that I've talked to, my dad included, it was like you don't get paid for that. You
No.
work. Like it's where you live.
Yeah.
It's what you work. It's what you do. And so I feel like that has a lot to do with it too, because it's like it's not a job, it's responsibility,
Mm-hmm.
and that helps with like self-discipline.
This was a little different. We would hire out to farmers. And so then we did get paid for the sugar beets. But as far as the stuff at home, helping with the grain and the gardening and milking cows and feeding chickens and pigs and
That's all just home chores,
butchering.
basically.
Yeah, I mean, I lived there. I
Yeah.
had room and board, and they clothed me, and so it was like
Yeah.
Yeah.
you
There
just
you go.
did it because they needed help, and that's
Right.
Yeah.
that's how it was.
Yeah.
On a lighter topic, after 2, you would go to the swim pool. Is that correct? Mm-hmm. What else would you do in high school? What was the fun thing to do? Appropriately.
We would have school dances, and they were fun,
Okay.
and they were well
All right.
chaperoned. And during my high school years, drugs hadn't hit the Midwest, so there was no drugs. It was
That's
all
cool.
out because this
Yeah.
was in the '60s. It was out
Okay.
on the coast.
Yeah.
And the big cities, Minneapolis and Winnipeg. Our hometown is only 80 miles from Winnipeg.
Okay.
We're right on the border, but we didn't deal with alcohol. Was the biggest and
Right.
the worst, and
Sure.
cigarettes, of course.
Right.
But other than that, but dances, we did dances a lot.
Okay.
That's so fun. Did you guys, did you drive?
We did. They'd be in little different towns, and we'd follow them. We had, he was killed in an airplane accident. He was with a group, and they were on their way to a little town about 20 miles from our place called Mountain, North Dakota. And, I can't think of it. Buddy Holly was on his way up to North Dakota to play. He had stopped in Fargo. He was coming into Fargo from Sioux Falls, and his plane crashed. And he was supposed to play there. And he was really big at the time. It was Buddy Holly and the Bebopper and
That sounds so awesome.
the
Right.
kid that was famous in La Bamba. That
yeah.
singer.
Yep.
He
Yep.
was along on the plane.
Huh.
But and I can't remember how many died, but they were on their way to Mountain, North Dakota.
Was that kind of the thing? Was like those kind of jazz artists and
Yeah.
swing would come through, and you would just go to whatever city and have a dance there?
Sometimes, rarely. We didn't get a lot of big names, but rock and roll
Oh, yeah.
and the twist, that was, and the mashed potatoes and the holly gully, all of that was big when I was
Grandma, could
growing
you
up.
show us how to do the mashed potato at
Oh, I
some
don't-
point?
No, I
Like
don't
off
remember.
air.
Off air.
Not on the
Yeah.
podcast.
I really
You
don't
don't-
know
we'll
if I
make-
know. And the pony, and we used to watch American Bandstand every Saturday.
Okay.
And that was a group of kids that danced in New Jersey or New York with Dick Clark. He
Oh,
was the
that's cool.
host. And if you go back
So
and Google
cool.
that, you can see, and they created all these new dance steps. So then it would just ripple across
okay.
the U.S. and
And
everybody
then
would.
at your dances, you would learn those
Yeah,
and do
everybody would try and imitate
so
what
cool.
you
Yeah.
saw
That's so
on
cool.
those.
Saturday.
Dancing has changed a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know.
People like going out to dancing is not really a thing.
It is in Bozeman. There's
Kinda.
a swing
there's
scene.
there's the
right?
swing cats, and then
Yep.
there's the country swing on Friday or Saturday nights in MSU. We used to be fun in the barn.
Yep.
Now
Yeah.
it's not in the barn. It's not as fun.
Yeah, I
But,
wish I.
other than that, it's like if you think of dancing, it's like go to a club and like that's not dancing.
Right.
No.
That's gross. Is
No.
what that is.
Yeah.
Our dancing was fun. It was
Yeah.
a stroll, where you lined up like you see from the 60s.
Yeah.
That's
It
cool.
was fun. And
That
they
is
had
cool.
the penny loafer shoes or saddle shoes and the full skirts, the flare.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was fun.
That
Grandma-
seems like fun and constructive and like good exercise too.
Yeah.
It was
Because
good
man, it seems
exercise.
like
Like you need it anymore after hoeing sugar beets, but
Right.
like,
Yeah.
The dancing was, the dirty dancing didn't come into play when I was in high school.
wasn't
There
that,
was
the movie was in the 80s, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that probably, my daughters
Yeah.
were exposed to that, my children. But,
Grandma, how much was a movie ticket when you were a kid?
oh, this is so fun. I could go to the movie and have pop and popcorn for 50 cents.
Like
Including the ticket?
the movie,
And the
pop,
ticket.
and popcorn, all 50
Oh
cents.
my gosh. Was 50 cents a lot then though? What did that feel
Yeah.
like a lot?
No, I think it was kind of average.
Okay.
I think the ticket was a quarter, and then the pop was
For
maybe
yeah.
15, and the popcorn was 10.
For a reference, what was like a loaf of bread? How much did that cost?
Oh, probably about, now I'm guessing, probably about 37 cents, 39
Okay.
cents.
Okay, so
40
you'd go to the
cents.
movies for about a little over a loaf of bread.
Yeah,
Which-
I think so. And I'm not, I
That's
can't
way
remember
different
that.
now.
Maybe it was only 28 cents.
Yeah.
I know we could buy, when we got married, we could buy hamburger for 57 cents a pound.
Wow.
Wow.
And that was in
It was a different
65.
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
Grandma, what was your first car?
That's a great question.
Oh my goodness. Well, I drove vehicles that was on the farm. So I really never had a first car of my own. Mm-hmm. But the car that we drove when we were married was a big old blue Oldsmobile, a 98.
Oh.
With the big, huge, big fenders in the back. And it was a baby blue and silver. It was really
That's
pretty.
awesome.
That's so cool.
Also, I just checked. The value of 50 cents in 1960 is the same as $4 today.
Oh man.
Which is still a screaming
Yeah,
deal.
for-
You could
Yeah.
get
a
popcorn
ticket,
and pop
popcorn
and ticket.
pop.
Yeah.
That's $4 is like what I pay in a convenience fee when I
Yeah.
buy it online
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
the $16 ticket.
And then, in the later 60s, I'm sure it increased and was more about when I was like 10 or 12 years old. The farmers would come into town every Saturday night and buy groceries and socialize and visit because everybody worked so hard they didn't do it otherwise.
Yeah.
So all the kids would come in and we'd all go to the movies.
That's awesome.
That is
What about drive-in theaters?
We
Did you ever
had
go to
one in
those?
Cavalier, and that was fun. And that was after you started dating. Then you went to the drive-in. I mean, we didn't go. Otherwise, well, I shouldn't say that. There was carloads of kids that would go too, but we had so many mosquitoes there that it just kind of
Not as
defeated the
fun.
purpose.
Yeah.
No,
Oh.
and sometimes they'd spray, but sometimes they didn't. So if it was a nice night, not too hot, and the wind was strong, you were safe. The mosquitoes
Yeah.
were blown away.
So your senior year of high school, do you remember your senior year or thereabouts? What was your favorite movie that you went and saw in theaters?
Oh, I can't remember. Yes, I can. The Man That Shot Liberty Valance.
The Man That Shot Liberty Valance.
Okay, I'm going to have to Google
Yeah,
that.
we
Yeah.
should watch that movie.
It's a
that
Western
name's-
and it's
I was
good.
gonna
It
say,
has
that
a good
name's super
theme.
familiar, and I think my dad watched it once, and I was just not into westerns, but I'm like,
Sure.
I should
I liked Westerns, and I
Westerns,
like
yeah.
Westerns, and I
Okay.
like The Man That Shot Liberty Valance.
All right.
Well, that is excellent.
There we go.
Was that kind of what was big then and there? Was Western films, or
No,
just you particularly liked them?
I liked them. We had a variety of films that would come into our little theater. There was detective, there was romance, there was Westerns.
Mm-hmm.
But the violence wasn't in them like
yeah,
there is
right.
now.
like not
Yeah.
like today.
Even your detectives. I mean, everything had a white good ending.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Grandma, did you have proms back
Yes,
then?
we
was
didn't have
prom was
prom.
a thing?
Yep.
Okay.
We had proms.
What was your prom dress like? Was it a poodle skirt?
Oh, it was horrid. It was. No, I shouldn't say that. I guess it was okay, but it was lime green, which wasn't my favorite color. But, when you're growing up on the farm and average income family, you don't go out and buy
Yeah.
exactly
Yeah.
what you want. So we went and looked for this, and it was cute. It had a fitted top on it with a little jacket and a full chiffon skirt.
Wow.
Wow.
How
Nice.
did it go down to your ankles or was it like
No, it's T-length. Just
Okay. Okay,
Nice.
well that doesn't sound horrible.
No.
Would I be able to find a photo of that in any of your old photo albums?
I don't think so. Oh man, no, I
Because
don't
that would have
think
been a
so.
gem.
That would be great.
Yeah.
Lime green.
And Grandma, were you in beauty pageants when you were younger?
I feel like you know the answer to this already,
Accidentally.
Madison.
She does. She knows this.
I've seen the
Our
photos.
high school.
Is
our high
objection leading the
was-
witness.
Yeah. Well, first of all, our high school was invited to march in a college parade at Mayville State College. So we had no football team because we weren't big enough. We
Okay.
just had baseball. So they needed a homecoming queen. So I won that honor. So I ended up
Sweet.
going down, riding in a convertible in a college
That's
parade
awesome.
for their homecoming as a homecoming queen from Nitchie, North Dakota, and our band was in the parade.
Cool.
So that was that. And then in '85, I worked at Cloverdale, and they started a new winter carnival type thing, and they called it Winter Days. And so they were asking people to enter it. And there was this woman that worked in the office at Cloverdale, and she was a magnificent seamstress, and she did modeling, and she did all this. And so she said, if you enter this, I'll put you together. And it's like, oh my, I don't do well on the stage or in front of people. But she did. So there was, I think, 10 or 12 contestants, and I was 38 at the time, and I won.
Really?
Way to
Wow.
go.
Yeah,
What?
That's awesome.
Yeah, so I
Yeah.
won a blue fox short jacket,
Like
Nice.
real fox?
real fox.
Wow.
And a
All right.
membership at the Ridge and not the Ridge, but an athletic club. And then I was in every parade for that whole year. So then here comes
Did you have to wear the jacket in the parade?
no,
Okay.
no, but like the summertime, Mandan has a huge rodeo and a huge 4th of July. And so my son-in-law had a little sports car, a little MG. And so
My dad or
no,
somebody?
Greg.
Oh, Greg.
Greg
Yeah,
did.
okay.
And so I wore your aunt's, Marnie's prom dress that was spaghetti strapped.
You
and-
wore her prom dress?
Yeah, and it was just straight, but it was, it was like a sundress, but it was just straight with a little bit of beadwork on it. And had the sash and rode in the 4th of July parade. And then
Wow.
Bismarck had Oktoberfest parades, and
That's
I was in
awesome.
that. and
So
it's
can you
like-
show us the wave that you did from the parade? Elbow, elbow, wrist, wrist, right? That was beautiful.
Oh. I don't think I'm doing it.
No, you gotta.
So were you basically like Miss Mandan at that point? Was that kind of what it was? Like it was a citywide beauty pageant and you once you sort of represented
Yeah, but
Mandan?
the Winter Days was just, I held the title of the Winter Days Queen pageant.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
That's awesome.
Wow.
So
Yeah,
you
it was
accidentally
really
entered
crazy.
a pageant and you won.
I did.
That's fantastic.
And I do have a picture.
Oh,
Okay.
A
Yeah,
big one
and I
at
will get it
home.
for you
Okay,
for later
we'll put
because
that
it's
up.
beautiful.
Yeah, I found that the other day.
That's fantastic.
So I have that. So
That's cool.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
This is making me nostalgic for an era I never participated
I
in.
know.
Because
Yeah.
it seems like so
Seriously.
much fun. It seemed like it was more wholesome back then,
Yeah.
you know? It was just like, I
Yeah.
mean, obviously there were parts
Yeah.
that weren't.
Right, you
it
can't say
was
rose-colored glasses,
It was
but-
wholesome, and it was. There was a lot of honesty. I know that the way the farmers interacted with each other, you could buy a parcel of land on a handshake.
Wow.
And then if you wanted to go into the courts later and register the deed, which you had to do,
Yeah.
then they'd both sign.
Sure.
Okay.
But
People weren't suing each other.
no,
Yeah, or going back on deals that they
No,
made and
Right.
no.
or up in
No,
the price
it
last
was-
minute, something like that.
it gradually,
Yeah.
had to be legalized, and
Right,
the
sure.
government required different forms, and that came into play. But there was a time where if you wanted to buy something,
You could just
yeah, just shake your hand.
Wow,
It was
that's
a done
cool.
deal.
Well, we have one last question for you, Nathan. You remember what the question was?
Okay, here we go. This is a really important question to know in life in general, I think. If you had the choice between fighting one horse-sized duck or 100 duck-sized horses, which do you think you would rather do?
The little horses.
Little horses?
I love
Why?
horses.
She wouldn't fight him. She'd
I
call him
love
the best.
horses. Yeah, just let them come.
100 of
that.
If there were 100 though, and they were all
that'd be
trying to get you.
overwhelming.
No, it wouldn't
You
be
just charm
overwhelming
them.
because we had horses,
Okay,
and when we'd go
you'd
out
be
and
all
feed
right.
them,
Yeah.
if you put your grain in the horse in the bin or in the trough, they would come running, and I would have 5 to 10 horses come running at me at one
Okay.
time.
I
So
would
Big
if you got
size.
5 to 10 life-size horses,
Yeah.
at you. 100
So-
duck-sized horses, no big deal.
No, because all they wanted was the grain. You
Yeah.
just got out of the way because they would kick
Okay.
each other and fight.
Sure.
So if these little miniature guys
Yeah,
came,
like this big.
Yeah.
We're thinking like
oh
a
yeah,
duck.
duck size,
Yeah.
that would be incredible and
Small
awesome.
grain.
So Grandma would tame the duck-sized horses.
That's a first. I've
That is
never
a
asked
first.
that question and had someone be like, please bring me the tiny
I'd
horses.
love to
Yeah.
see them.
Yeah. All right.
That would be great. Thank you so much for
Yeah,
joining
this
us.
has been a
Yeah.
You're
blast.
welcome.
That was a blast.
Thank
One of my
you.
favorite episodes to shoot, I think.
Yeah, for sure. That was good. That was really unique. So
Well, thank you so much.
yeah,
It's a privilege to be here, honestly.
it's a
Yeah.
privilege for
Yeah.
us. So
It really
you.
is.
Sure.
It's a treat.
awesome. Well, if you want to find our episodes somewhere other than YouTube, you can find links in the description for Google Play and Apple Podcasts, possibly Spotify, and also our website, jeffandjosh.net. The episodes will premiere one day earlier than YouTube, so just trying to clickbait you over there. And you can also buy our merchandise there, possibly, if I make some. I'm out of stock at the moment. I have one shirt and I won't sell it to you. So, so anyways, thank you for watching, and we will be here next time.
Grandma, can you wave us out?
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah. Good call.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Not even going to try the way.
Yeah, that's
It's a bad idea.
largely unsuccessful.
Oh, that was was kind of fun.
Thank you. Right?
That was
It's just kind of a
fun.
conversation that we record.